congested motoring most of us have to endure nowadays. As for the 190's performance and get up and go, who better to pass judgment on that than Stirling Moss? Here in Italy, he won one of the world's greatest road races, the Mille Miglia, when he was only 25, the only Englishman to do so, and he won it in a Mercedes. Is this new Mercedes also a winner? Let's hear from the man who knows all about cars and what makes them tick. Stirling.
Thanks, Joanna. Well, that was a long time ago in 1955, and the roads have changed a lot since then, and of course they're terribly crowded. And no way can I cover 1,000 miles, but I would like to try the new 190 over some of the more difficult sections. So let's go and have a go, okay? When I get in the car, I feel it's smaller than other Mercedes, but then I've always looked upon Mercedes as being large cars. I think it handles in a small fashion. It's maneuverable and it's easy to throw around. So I think in that way they've come quite a long distance. Actually, the gearbox is very nice. So I think in many ways they have succeeded. But in the overall thing, I don't feel that it's a small car in any way because there's a lot of room inside after all. I think the new rear suspension is stunning, quite honestly. Presuming that is the main reason why the car feels so nice and it handles so well and stays so flat and it doesn't lurch around. I think it is a very, very impressive development, actually. I think it is quite revolutionary. I think it's as good as I'd heard, and for that reason, I think they have succeeded, yes. On these hairpins, the car is extremely maneuverable. The steering is very light, it's positive, and it's another of the good features. I think it's a very definite type of steering. When you place it, you feel the car's going to go there, and it's going there there's no feedback. It is a very nice steering. I think a car with a decent gearbox and good brakes are absolutely essential. And hopefully one looks to a car that's going to be good in the wet, because it's 50% of the time you're driving in England seems to be wet, and therefore I think it's quite important that one doesn't get brakes locking up, or shall we say the front end understeering and so on. And I think in many ways the Mercedes has got a long way towards that, particularly if you have the ABS brakes, which are absolutely revolutionary. I mean, when I was racing, we had the equivalent of the ABS available, but we didn't use them because they weren't at that time, I think, developed that far. But now, if you've ever driven ABS, I mean, one has to be a fan of them, and they are absolutely remarkable, because you can take one wheel, put it on the side, on the loose, if you like, or something, and yet still stop without the car swerving everywhere. I think that's an enormous benefit towards safety, actually.
It was here, on the descent from the village of Radicofani between Rome and Siena, that Moss nearly came to grief on the Mille Miglia. With only some 4 hours of the race to go, he spun on a sharp left-hander, but managed to drive out of the ditch with the same sure hand he shows at Radicofani today at the wheel of the new 190. Why did Stirling's Mercedes outperform 450 other cars on the 22nd Mille Miglia?
I would say it was two things. One is the feeling that this car was going to finish. Unless you went off the road, you should finish the race. That's number one, and that's a great feeling of security. I think the other one probably was because I had Dennis Jenkinson beside me, and I had great feeling of confidence in what he was telling me, and I had obviously a similar type of confidence in that I knew how to interpret everything that he indicated. And I think, you see, coming over a brow like that, very, very difficult if you're going really fast. And when you go down in a dump like this is easy. Now I go down and I know the road is fairly clear ahead because I've seen what it's like, go slightly left and then to the right, so I'm not worried. Although he would give me a signal for this being flat out, I wouldn't worry. But when I haven't seen what's there, then the fact that Dennis would give me the sort of signal like this, that means flat out, let's go, that gave me a tremendous help.
On the Futa Pass, the memorial to the father of the Mille Miglia, Count Mazzotti. Moss made a short stop here on his 190 appraisal run and looked back to another hot summer's day when there was no time at all for food or drink, or anything else for that matter.
We were going 10 hours, 7 minutes, I think, and we actually stopped for a total of 1 minute, 28 seconds. One quick stop to bung in, I think, 20 gallons of fuel before Rome, after Pescara, just as a top-up. And then at Rome, of course, I had decided I'd have a pee in Rome. But when I arrived at the control, they built grandstands. Well, frankly, I then had to go behind, and by the time I came back, they'd refueled the car, changed the tyres, put the oil, done everything, washed the windscreen, and they were ready to go.
Moss and his Mercedes 190 had one more pass to navigate on his return visit to the route of the Mille Miglia, the Raticosa. On the original race day, a hot Sunday afternoon in May, Moss came down the Raticosa in a series of controlled slides on patches of melting tar coated with oil and rubber from other competitors. He wanted to cover the 60 miles of hills and villages between Florence and Bologna in 60 minutes. In the event, it took him just 1 minute more. Mantova was the final checkpoint before the finish in Brescia. On the home straight, a dead-flat run across the plain of Lombardy, Moss broke all records, and he was given a special Nuvolari Award, named after the veteran Italian racing driver whose skill and courage are remembered in his hometown of Mantova to this day.
They gave a very nice fob, amongst other things, which has got the tortoise, because his symbol was a tortoise with TN, Tazio Nuvolari, on it, which I still have and treasure very much. But the run in here, of course, was very, very fast. I mean, we'd been doing slow sections. It was quite a relief after about 7 or 8 hours to be able to relax a bit and go really quickly. And I think we averaged about 130 miles an hour from Cremona home. And I remember one time there was a twin-engined aircraft, and we actually pulled away from the thing and passed it, and it would only catch up when the road turned, and it was able to take a shortcut.
The famous Mille Miglia, the 1,000-mile classic car race in Italy, was a triumph for Stirling Moss, the British ace. Driving a 3-litre Mercedes from Brescia, down the coast, across to Rome and north again, he went like the wind all the way. But miles ahead, on his way to victory, Stirling Moss was breaking the record average speed for the event by nearly 10 miles an hour. And he finished over half an hour ahead of world champion Fangio. The first Briton to win this race, Moss had scored a supreme triumph.
At the time, I was obviously thrilled, but since then it's sunk in more that, you know, what the event was, because there's nothing like it left in the world. I mean, a real road race, and the speeds we were doing, and the type of atmosphere, and the character of the car and the road and everything. I think it really is probably my greatest achievement, actually.
In terms of achievements, the Mercedes 190 of today shares many qualities with the Mercedes 300 SLR which Moss drove to victory. It is the ultimate in vehicle design for a specific purpose. No compromise, a totally new concept in light, compact cars. And it inherits the expertise of all those Mercedes research and development engineers who've contributed not only to the Mille Miglia, but to countless other great sporting triumphs. Stirling Moss knows this better than anyone.
Well, let me put it this way. If there was a race being held now, today, I reckon the 190 would suit me very nicely. Super handling car, and quick enough for what I want anyway.